Tell my people, my babies, my dogs, what's going on with you guys, man? I am Golden Ghost alongside Ace and Coach. Welcome to Dead or Alive Primetime, the only show that allows you to highlight to the world how you can do a command grab that's almost as hard as hitting a backflip. Nah, I kid, man.
It's always nice to see people enjoy the game at all levels, no matter what. Like, even if the enjoyment comes from hitting those insane execution throws.
Yep. Exactly, Ace. Before we get started, I'd like to give a huge thank you to everyone that reached out to me and sent over the clips of your favorite character putting in that work, bro. Putting in that pain. That's mainly what this show is all about, bro. It's not about skill. It's not about who's better than who. It's to celebrate all of you that still play and support this game, bro. And without any of you and the renowned people that I speak to with these interviews, this series would not be possible. This series would not be happening. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank each and every single one of y'all. And the favorite person in question today is none other than Hayate Tenjimon, or as he likes to call himself in battle, the Wind. That being said, man, how's my people doing today, bro? How we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain.
Yeah. I'm doing good, Ghost. What up?
Yo, Coach, you good over there, man? Yeah, what?
No. I'm good.
Hey, but like, where are you at right now?
Oh,
bro?
where am I at? I was trying to give me a little $5 discount, you know, the little 5-finger discount joint. So I'm somewhere I ain't supposed to be right now, bro. Don't worry about it,
bro. Like 5-finger discount, bro? Seriously?
Times are tough, man. You know how much it costs to get some toilet paper? Gotta wipe my.
I'm gonna have to edit that out, am I? Oh my god.
So, anyways, on the topic of Hayate, what's your favorite thing about Hayate, Ghost?
Oh well. That's a no-brainer for me, man. The two things I like about Hayate the most are his outfits. Cause like considering outside of like Hayabusa and like Rig and Hayabusa and Rig, I don't think there's not that many male characters that have drip quite like Hayate has drip, man. Some of them costumes are just insane to me. And then the voice actor, man. The voice actor for Hayate is actually Yuri Lowenthal. That's a voice that's extremely iconic in the medium of voice acting as a whole, voicing some of my childhood favorites like Sasuke from Naruto, Ben 10, Kuma from Afro Samurai, and he's still cooking today with some of his more recent roles like the Insomniac Spider-Man games. So to have an iconic voice like that behind one of the flagship characters of Dead or Alive is always going to get a big thumbs up out of me. How about you, Coach? Coach? The first clip comes from a guy named Denzelly201. We're gonna call him the little Hayate that could, because even though he lost his match, he's still gonna get a clippable round, baby. Our next clip comes from Dark, unleashing an absolute clinic of Hayate mix. Hayate pressure into the critical advance hold victory. Got Zach ready to crash out. Next clip comes from a man named D Prodigy. Man's is on his Hayate grind, trying to get dirty, trying to get nasty, trying to get his weight up. We love to see it. Well, not everyone, because that Hanoka turned the whole game off. Next clip comes from a man named Is Video Games, showing off the insane damage potential of the fireworks stage with our boy. How much time and pain you think he put in to get this saucy combo? If you hit this in game, you absolutely got it. Next clip comes from a man named Dash Chicago Kid, hitting the almighty, oh my god! You're probably wondering why Coach just tripped out right there off that one grab, right? Allow me to explain. That was the Raiji, the top 3 hardest throws to do in the entire game. A common misconception that people really like to have about Dead or Alive is that it doesn't require any type of execution or any type of real thing. Just because we have, let's be clear about something. Just because we have a low barrier to entry doesn't mean there's no execution behind this, bro. Until your fighting game has these type of inputs just to do one grab, talk to us nice. Like seriously, who is hitting this consistently online, bro? Like that's crazy. That's nasty. My fingers are going to break trying to do that. You got Hayate players that are hitting this on people 4 times a game, 4 times a match. You know how crazy that is? Man, y'all got them Mark Henry thumbs, bro. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. Y'all constantly hitting Raijins casually, bro. We want to get like y'all. Dead or Alive as it stands currently is a series that only remains alive due to the players that still support it to this day. From the players that are trying it for the first time to the veterans that still enjoy it and how the game plays and functions. But some people take it a step further and want to support the game in other types of ways as well.
We would like to take this time to give a spotlight to Fighters Clash, a tournament that was ran and streamed by Dynamic Jaguar, who is a Dead or Alive veteran in his own right. It's events like this that promotes community growth, not only by highlighting high-level play, but by allowing free entry for anyone that wishes to try their hand in a bracket, improve their skills, and learn from other people who are trying to win.
Emphasis on playing to win, because in lobby, sometimes you get people who just like to mess around instead of just, locking in, which is normally what people want to do when they want to get better. But, 2 people who was definitely locked in on this day, Dynamic Jaguar and Carl Pett in the grand finals of Fighters Clash. Game 1, we start off real hot with Carl playing the crush game and Helena's taking really good advantage of the Boko stances, but just as quick as Helena takes advantage, Kasumi's able to take it right back into a nasty command throw, forcing into a reset situation at the wall. Now, there was a slight hiccup from the wall, but from this point, it plays out a lot like the beginning of the round all over, with Helena trying to play the crush game, but Jag is once again a step ahead, hits the true mid, and gets the stun into the launch throw.
The wall reset situation here was really crucial. You can see Kasumi go for an advanced throw tech, where if you have your opponent stunned long enough, you can almost go for a reset stun situation or a throw almost guaranteed just by using that low throw into something else. It didn't work out that way, but he played it patient and still won the neutral to close it out, so good on that.
Game 2, this time you can see Helena quite literally slow down her game plan. Carl's trying to block more and pick his spots with his initial stun, and once he gets that initial stun off, now he's able to mix, and you can see how the change in tempo quite literally mixes up the entire game plan against Jag.
Can we also talk about how well Carl's also dealing with the low wake-ups by planning and setting up into his mix on the low wake-up kicks, and then also the way he's playing defense as well. Like, instead of trying to play around his Boko stance on defense, now in certain situations he wants to play more around the holds and the stuns, and he was able to do that to play patient and close it out. Talk about an adjustment.
Game 3, we can see Jaguar making a lot of major adjustments to get to Carl's game plan, but one major whiff is quite literally all it takes for the entire situation to go wrong. He quite literally went from being one mix-up away from winning to dying in seconds.
All because he whiffed that kick string, that forward kick. Carl recognized it and set up a command throw against the wall into a nasty combo, which put Kasumi into a force tech now. And now Jaguar is in a true mix-up situation. He doesn't know what he's gonna do, so he just tries to block, which turned out to be a wrong guess because the whole time the throw was locked into the tank, and now it's game point match for Carl Pett.
Game point match indeed. We get the character switch to Mai from Jaguar, but once again you see the adjustments being made by Dynamic, but it's like for every adjustment he makes, Carl changes his tempo, which throws a monkey wrench into the game plan. Everything we're seeing here in this round is a culmination of the things we've seen in the past rounds all coming together.
Using Boko to pick the right spot to take back Helena's turn, nasty combos into the wall, now utilizing the down punch to keep a grasp over the neutral, that way she can maintain neutral. And since there wasn't any force tech like in the last game, it really is just like you say, it's a change of the tempo, and that's really all it takes for any solid Helena to mess up a lot of players. And just like that, Carl Pett is your 2024 Fighters Clash champion.
The world of Dead or Alive is vast, with a long, rich history from its inception to now. The content creation space is no exception in this regard. There are many names that have came and went as far as making great, valuable content for this franchise. But there is a select few that have stuck it out through the test of time and still continue to thrive to this day, but still never forgetting what inspired them to get there in the first place. One of these people being the subject of today's interview. This man has content that's over 15 years old about this series and has continued to support it no matter how he may feel about one game compared to the next. Let me give you a fair disclaimer now. This interview is long. Quite longer than usual, quite longer than I was expecting. But in there was so many great gems dropped in just overall wisdom and insight that I just couldn't justify taking out majority of the information I was given. I did chop it up. I did chop it up real nice. But I couldn't justify taking out a good amount of that information, man. So strap yourself in, get yourself something to eat, leave a like, comment, share with your friends. And without further ado, allow me to introduce you to one of the best US DOA players, one of the best DOA tournament commentators, and one of the best DOA content creators to ever upload on this platform, EmeryReigns.
Now hold on a second, man. Hold on. Am I supposed to be sorry? Am I supposed to be sorry because y'all
Man, I'm sick, bro.
Man.
Super sick. But outside of that, man, I can't complain. I'm hanging in there. Push forward, you know.
At least all that's good to hear, bro. And outside of this, bro, you know the weather changing. That's probably what's going on.
Yeah, I every time it's every year, bro. Every time the weather's changing, I get sick every single time. So it happens every time.
For those of y'all that are watching out there that don't know Emery, he has his own channel with almost any type of content out there that you can think of. If you have a question about DOA, in a lot of cases, an answer can be found on this channel. Emery has dedicated and prided himself over the years to this game and making content for it, DOA 5 and DOA 6 especially, including a documentary where he talks a lot about himself already. But for the sake of this interview, I'm gonna try to not rehash every single thing that he went over and try to ask some different questions. But if you guys want to check out his documentary, I will be linking that down in the description and in the pinned comment. So with all that out the way, the first thing I gotta ask, was Ein your first main or was it Hayate?
My first main character in DOA ever was Ein. And it was because DOA 2 was the first one that I played on the Dreamcast. And obviously, Hayate wasn't in that game. So Ein was really the only character I used in that game. Like, it was in, DOA 2 was the first fighting game I ever played. I think it was 2000. Yeah, it was 2000 because I was like 6 years old. So me and my two brothers, we went over to a guy that lived in our apartment complex who my brother was going to school with at the time, and I guess they met on a bus or whatever and was talking about video games. So I remember that the Dreamcast had just came out too, so DOA 2 was already out, and I had never really, we were always big on shooting games like GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, and stuff like that, and as you know, the 64 didn't really have that many fighting games on it at the time, and we didn't circle back to even start getting into fighting games until later. Yeah, DOA 2 was the first one that I played. Ein was my first main character. Hayate didn't exist, and I knew for sure if there was a ninja in the game like Hayate, I would have probably used them. But what's the funniest thing about it is that Ein is actually was the character that I picked mostly over Hayabusa, because at the time I just had this obsession with karate. Like, before I got into the whole ninja thing, because I use ninjas in every fighting game I play. I play Kage in VF, Hayate in DOA, I play Raven and Tekken. So I've always been a ninja player, but at the time of my life, dude, I was like obsessed with karate. I had all these karate books and stuff, and Ein was a karate practitioner, so it just kind of went in the aesthetic too. Like, my brother was a Hayabusa player, so like obviously they have the little rivalry, and we used to play matches all the time. Right. But I started off with Ein, man, and also too, not to mention, Ein was the simplest character in the game. Ein, that's why they replaced Ein with Diego, because they needed another character that only had like 20 fucking moves, you know what I mean? So Ein was super simple for me to pick up. Everybody else was kind of difficult at the time, so but yeah, Ein was my first real character, man. He was my first main.
I know you also use Mila too a little bit. You have any connection there that made you, or you just want to have another character under your belt?
So the thing about Mila is that I'm going to tell you why I picked up Mila in the first place. So I actually don't play female characters in fighting games. Like, it's like a rule that I have, and it's not for any weird reasons. Like, people would probably think I've been asked a lot, like, oh, you sexist? Like, no, it's not. I just don't like to use female characters because I feel like they're not a representation of me. The characters that I use in games, I have a personal attachment with the characters that I use. If I feel like that attachment isn't there, like if I feel like the bond is not there between me and the character I'm using, I'm not going to be able to properly excel with the character. So obviously I use ninja characters because in real life I consider myself like a fucking ninja. I do flips off of stuff. I'm always in the gym, like acrobatic stuff like that. You know what I mean? My whole room I have Japanese art all over my body, you know, tattoos. I love ninjas, you know what I'm saying? So like, I've always been a person that stuck to ninja characters. However, at the time in DOA 5, the level of competition was so high, and I was traveling so much with the game, I felt as if my character just wasn't really competing at the top levels. Not to say Hayate was a bad character at all, but the problem with Hayate is that there's only so many things that he could really do at that top level of play. And the problem with Hayate is he's a very big 50-50 character. He can play a very strong 50-50 game. However, the 50-50 is not without risk. If I run up full screen and try to throw you or do a 4-4 punch, if I guess wrong, I'm getting counter hit and lost. If you hold it, I'm going to get held, you know what I mean? So like, the throw beats every single option except you mashing a button. It beats the sidestep, you know, it might even beat your fuzzy, depending, because trying to fuzzy from full screen is weird. Like, Hayate's a very good tournament character. However, I was just bumping into issues where I was losing a lot of my 50-50 trades. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I need a character that is not only going to allow me to have more options so that way I can play safer. And my whole philosophy with fighting games is the way you win is you play as safe as possible and you cover as many options as possible. And they have what's called an option select. Essentially, what an option select is the easiest way for me to explain it is it allows you to go for a risk-free option and keep the advantage or be able to be safe at the same time. So you're not playing risky at all. Mila was the queen of this, and also, too, aesthetically, Mila was a pretty sick character. Like, she wasn't your typical girl character, your female character. She, you know, kind of rough around the edges. She was a tomboy. She had the sick-ass neutral stance, the little flannel, shirt that she had with the baggier jeans. She was just a really, really sick new-coming character, and she was really strong. And the thing about Mila is that I wasn't using Mila from the beginning, and I bounced around a lot through my characters throughout DOA 5 Vanilla. I didn't start getting into Mila until DOA 5 Ultimate, and even still, I was still very new with the character. At the time, there was a guy named Something Unique who was pretty much like the Mila player to go to. However, he stopped playing the game around DOA 5 Ultimate, so I ended up looking into all Something Unique's tech because he was very strong with Mila. He actually got top 8 at one of those summer jams, and he was just very good. And I ended up taking a lot of his tech and just expanding on it, coming up with more unholdables, more option selects where I could whiff this grab or get this grab, or if you get up, I can keep advantage and stun you or grab you. And Mila allows you to play the game that way. So when I'm playing in tournaments, I'm no longer taking those risks anymore. Not to mention, Mila was a very good counter pick for most of the cast. Mila didn't have really any bad matchups. When you're a competitor and you're spending your own money to travel the world to play a game, not to say you know you're going to be a sellout and just pick up a character, but you want to win, you want to do better. And where I knew that I was undoubtedly the best Hayate player in the US, I'm like, I have the potential to pick up another character to do well with, so I ended up picking up Mila as my secondary, and I ended up becoming like one of the best players with Mila in the world as well. And the two characters just kind of worked really well side by side. Like, those are my two breadwinner characters right there, Mila and Hayate. And the reason why I use Mila and not somebody else is because my whole philosophy on fighting games is, if you're going to play two characters, don't use two characters that are doing the same thing. I'm not going to use Hayate and also use Ayane when they're virtually doing the same exact thing. They both excel at spacing. They both excel at every range of the game, range 1, range 2, range 3, they can play up close, mid-screen, and full screen. Not a lot of characters that can do that, but why am I going to play 2 characters that do the same exact thing? Makes no sense. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pick up a character who is the complete opposite of Hayate. Hayate doesn't have an offensive hold. Mila has an offensive hold. They have the same speed on their attacks, 10 frame and 12 frame, but Mila just seemed as if she was faster because her strings didn't have a lot of active frames on them. So you could do like a jab, like punch or something, and the recovery frames were just so on her side that you're not really taking a risk by throwing buttons on the screen. Whereas Hayate, if I do a forward punch, the recovery on that forward punch is going to take an hour to be done, and then I'll lose my turn, you know. So she was just a strong character, man, and I ended up picking her up because the levels of competition were getting higher. Hayate started to feel like I was struggling with him a little more, and I swear, dude, I picked up Mila and I started running through motherfuckers, bro. And then I slowly but surely became one of the most prominent Mila and Hayate players in the community. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could put a list of the Dead or Alive games, like the main ones, like 1 through 5 in an order of worst to best, what would your lineup be?
1 to 5 or 1 to include 6 or just 1 to 5?
1 to 6.
Okay. So 1 to 6, and I'm going to leave out side entries because for the most part, any side entries in the DOA series were never really competitive in the first place. And I'm not just talking about from a competitive standpoint, casual too, but I just don't want to include side games because I just feel like it doesn't really apply here. So I'd have to say DOA6 is probably the worst entry in DOA for obvious reasons. There's not really any reason to go too deep into that. It's not a bad game all around. It had potential. They could have capitalized. They could have updated the game and fixed all the complaints we had. They chose not to do so. And therefore, that game is forever going to be the worst DOA game ever released. I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I got from that game. I got to work for my favorite company in the world, my favorite gaming company. It was a dream, but I just wish it was under better circumstances. I'd say after that, for me personally, I'm going to have to put Dead or Alive 3, and that's going to throw a lot of people off. But the reason why I'm putting Dead or Alive 3 there is because, for me, the game just really didn't do something that I had never seen before. Like, with DOA 2, we had already gotten that beautiful landscapes. We've already gotten, you know, the beautiful character models and stuff like that. I feel like DOA 3 just didn't really innovate anything new to that. Like, yeah, the game looked amazing. It was breathtaking for the time, absolutely. But if you really ask, what did DOA 3 do so much differently than DOA 2 did? If you really compare the two, graphically, of course, throw the graphics out of the window because graphics are not all that matters. Look at DOA 6. DOA 6 looks amazing. The game is ass, okay? And I'm not saying DOA 3 is ass by any means. Listen, the mild difference in between DOA 6 and 3, and that's what sucks about this list, is because you really don't understand how much I cannot stand DOA 6. DOA 3, I love DOA 3, but in terms of rating them in order, I'd have to put DOA 3 next to DOA 6, just because at the time when I was a kid, I'm like, I got all the same characters back. I have an annoying final boss I have to fight now. I couldn't stand Ginra, and I just thought the game just really wasn't doing much more that was already done. Like, it didn't innovate too much. Like, I felt like I'm like just playing a prettier version of DOA 2, especially at the time because I was a kid. I didn't really understand the mechanics like that. So after DOA 3, I'm gonna have to put DOA 1, because DOA 1 obviously was the pioneer of the series. I don't really find DOA 1 to be an absolutely amazing game. However, it's the first game that put DOA on the map, you know what I mean? Like, DOA 1 revived Tecmo. Tecmo was going to go under if it wasn't for DOA 1. The game sold amazing. It was a little before my time, but as I go back and play it, I'm like, man, it would have been sick to play this game when it was out, when it was new, you know what I mean? Because, you know, going back and playing it now is pretty sick. Even going back and messing with some of the mechanics, I'm like, yo, this game could actually be deep. It's not just, people think DOA 1 is just, oh, counter, because, you know, you're just going to stop somebody's pressure from just hitting the counter button. And again, DOA 1 was a little more limited when it came to the mechanics, but I think that it definitely deserves the spot being in front of DOA 6 and DOA 3, just because it was the first game. Next up, I would put DOA 4. I'm going to put DOA 4 up here in front of the other ones just because this was a groundbreaking game. I know people hate the game's mechanics, but throw the mechanics out of the window. Everything else was flawless. It was the most beautiful, to this day, the most beautiful looking Dead or Alive game by far. Okay, it's not even close. They had some of the craziest crossovers. There was a Halo stage in the game. There was a Spartan in the game. We're talking about 2005, 2006, when Halo was the shooting game. No one was playing Call of Duty yet. Halo was the game. To see a Spartan in a DOA game was fucking insane, bro. Like, that shit made people buy DOA. Every Halo fan bought DOA just so that they could play with Spartan, even if they knew how to play the game or not, you know? To this day, I go and turn the game on and I just can't believe that such an amazing game exists, even though mechanically the game was kind of trash. That's groundbreaking. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about DOA 2 to 3. This was the next level. This was truly the first feeling of feeling a next generation Dead or Alive game on those generation platforms, you know what I mean? And not to mention DOA 4's history, you know, its competitive history is huge. A lot of stuff people still don't know about. It was the first DOA game and last DOA game to be televised on national television, bro. Like, there was an entire league called the Championship Gaming Series where DOA 4 was featured as the only fighting game for, I think it was 2006, 2007, and 2008 for 3 years, bro. And not just before that, they had CGI and stuff like that. So DOA 4, if you ask a lot of people about DOA, the one that they're going to come to you and be like, oh man, I remember playing DOA 4 back in the day, like that's the one, that's the game. So while I can't put it as the best game of all time in the series, it's definitely up there for sure because the game is fucking fire, bro. Then after DOA 4, I'm going to put DOA 5 for me because this is the game that really got me, like I became who I am from this game. I learned the most about this game. I had the highest competitive spirits I've ever had. I've spent money to travel for this game. I've been in multiple top 8s for this game. I was ranked number 11 on the entire like worldwide leaderboard for DOA 5 on Free Step Dodge for competitive points. So I was grinding in that game. And that's the game that got me to where I am today, man, as a content creator, as a fighting game player. I learned a lot of my fighting game fundamentals and principles from that game. And I think that, you know, obviously too, I mean, you got to talk about the crossovers and the features. You got Virtual Fighter characters in the game. Virtual Fighter is one of the sickest fighting games of all time. It was a godfather of 3D fighting games. And to see those characters in the game as well, side by side, and they're functioning properly and they don't look out of place, DOA 5 is a hell of a game, bro. And then lastly, man, my favorite DOA game of all time was DOA 2. It was the first game I've ever played in my first fighting game I've ever played in my entire life. You know, it was gorgeous. It was to this day, you can turn on DOA 2 on a Dreamcast and clearly it's a little dated in different terms, but if you look at it and be like, yo, this shit still looks good, that was what the idea was in mind when they developed the game. Like, how can we make something that looks everlasting? It was groundbreaking, bro. The difference between the graphics of DOA 1 and 2, it looked like an entirely new game. And if you look up the reviews on IGN and all that of DOA 2, you'll see the reviewers. They're like, man, this is some shit right here. Like, they did a whole 180 on this, and it looks incredible. I think that game got a perfect 10 out of 10, bro, by reviewers. If I had to throw in DOA Dimensions as an honorable mention and place it somewhere on that list, I'd say it was good to rest right in front of DOA 3. I can't put it in front of DOA 4 or DOA 5, but DOA Dimensions is sick. Unfortunately, it's another one of those games a lot of the world has not been able to access because it was in a mobile console, a portable console, but it had online play. It had some of the sickest stages ever of all time. They even expanded on some of the more classic stages that they redid for the game. And being able to play DOA on a go is pretty sick. I never got to do that growing up because I couldn't afford a DS, or a 3DS rather. But yeah, DOA Dimensions is sick as well. I'll put it right in front of DOA 4, or I'm sorry, right in front of DOA 3.
I know we already touched on it a little bit with Dead or Alive 5. How Dead or Alive 5 is kind of like your game. I want to say more or less that's like the game that kind of like established you as EmeryReigns. Or back then, yeah. you went by Rojiku back then, didn't you?
Dude, I had a million names, bro. It wasn't just that. That was the Rojiku is when I started to slow down on my name changes. I was going through like a character crisis at the time, or no, I was going through like a gaming personality crisis. Because what happened was I started to understand that I wanted to brand myself. I started to understand that I wanted to brand myself as a player. I didn't really get into the content creation thing until like a couple years later, but I'm starting to get more well-known in the DOA community. I'm starting to beat people's ass. People starting to talk about me in lobbies. I'm going into lobbies and I'm like, oh, did you fight that guy? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I started to make rounds, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to brand myself. Like, I wanted to have something more definitive. And, shout out to Master. Master was one of my biggest inspirations, becoming not just a DOA player, but as a content creator. Like, that dude has always been into content. He was making content before me. There's not a lot of people in the DOA community that have been making content before me, bro. There's maybe 2 people. Him and Matt Ponton are like the only ones that are still active that have been longer than me active in the game. That are making content, rather. You know what I mean? I bounced around a lot with my names. Dude, I had so many, just to give a couple off the top of my head, dude. And it's not in order because I don't remember what order they were in. But I went by Explicit Logic. I went by Broken Anxiety. I was going by Samurai X. I was in a couple clans. So I was in the DOA 5 clans were really big. They had TK, which was, I think it was like Total Killers or something like that. I forget what it was. There was Frozen Chaos, which is the team that I was in with Blackberry. I went by FC Anxiety for a little bit. Essentially, after I got done changing my name a million times, I finally came into something that made sense. Because I started doing music around the same time too, and I knew that I wanted my name to be consistent across the board. The thing about branding, and I try to tell everybody this who wants to start a brand or become a content creator, it's important to understand the importance of branding. When you go to type in your name, you want to pop up on every platform so that way it's not hard to find you. I knew there was no Rojikus on the planet. I knew that I was going to be, especially from the US because it was a Japanese name. So what happened was I was Explicit Logic first because my music name was Logic. Then a couple months later, I found out there was already a rapper named Logic. So I'm like, okay, can't be fucking Logic anymore. So what's the next best thing? What do I like? How do I make this work? I'm like, okay, what's Logic in Japanese? So I looked it up and it was Rojiku. So I'm like, okay, so I'll be Rojiku Effect. So then once I became Rojiku Effect, then I changed it to FC Rojiku because we made the clan. And then once the clan disbanded, I went to Rojiku Returns. That was another name I had. So then after I got them being, I've returned already, I changed it to EmeryReigns. So once I became EmeryReigns, Reigns was just in my name. Like, it never left. Like, it was just something. And a lot of people hit me up and ask me, like, if my name has anything to do with a wrestler. And I haven't watched wrestling since I was, like, 6. I didn't even know there was a wrestler named Roman Reigns at the time. It has nothing to do with that guy at all. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the wrestler. I didn't even know that dude was a wrestler, bro. Like, I've never heard of a Roman Reigns in my damn life. And it's not my fault that I'm light-skinned and I have tattoos and muscles. Like, it has nothing to do with that guy. I competed under Rojiku for a long time. Like, my most prominent competitive years was under Rojiku. Then towards the end of DOA5's lifespan, I'm like, I'm getting older here. I'm not Japanese. You know what I'm saying? I want to associate myself. And again, I started getting into the whole social media stuff. So another part of my brand is not just gaming, is I do social media influencing. Like, I have partners with a bunch of different, like, body butter companies, and I do, like, work with ad agencies and stuff like that now for my brand. And I'm like, I can't really sell myself to a modeling agency as Rojiku. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I need to be something a little more recognizable. So I just went with my middle name, Emery. And then the Reigns was already there. I'm like, EmeryReigns, that sounds fucking fire. And that was just what it was. It was a long journey, bro.
I know you went through all them names, bro.
Bro, you don't even know, dog. My name was Unknown Shadow. I was Assassin 356. I was Killer 356. I was O Mike O. I was O Pain O. I was O Fate O. I know that sounds weird, but Master's name on Xbox was O Master O. And everybody at the time, there was this trend going around to put O's in your name. O Perfect Legend O, O Master O. There was another dude named O Arnell Long O. Everyone was O. Like, everybody. Offbeat Ninja, I think he had O's in his name. So I'm like, fuck it, I want to have O's. Like, because what happened was, Xbox, everyone had X's.
Yeah.
So the O looks so stupid at first when you first look at it, but when you realize, like, the O kind of adds, like, a little design to the name, dude, I went crazy. I had about 12 different names, and it costs like 800 Microsoft. I think it was 1,600 Microsoft points or something to change your name, bro. My mom was pissed, bro. I had a new name every single day on that game, bro. It was crazy.
So I think it's time we talk about the iconic moment, bro. And I'm talking about the one that if I go to your Twitter page and I look at that pinned post, I see you hitting a backflip into somebody.
Look, man.
Vocal, bro.
Listen, I've never talked about this.
Yeah, bro.
I have never. I've never. This is the first time I'm ever gonna talk about this.
All right,
so I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm gonna break it down for you, and I don't have any remorse for Ichiran at all. Over the years, people have told me, like, I was being mean to Ichiran. I could give a flying fuck about any of that. First and foremost, I'm a fighting game player. I'm a competitive fighting game player. If you don't want to get styled on, don't talk shit and don't come to a tournament and lose to the person you were talking shit to. It's that simple. And I was also younger. I was only 23 at the time. You know what I'm saying? Not to say I wouldn't back for one motherfucker at 29, because it's in somebody's future. It's in someone's future. I'm going to a tournament next year. My sponsor's sending me for Tekken, and they better hope they don't lose. Whoever I fight, they better beat me, because they will be getting backflip to them. What happened was Ichiran was a laggy-ass online Mila player. And obviously, me being another Mila player, I was always compared to Ichiran and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm getting compared to a guy who has a 2-bar connection. Ichiran, I don't know what his personal life experiences were, but for whatever reason, he was at the library playing DOA online, bro.
Really?
Streaming. He was streaming at the library on Wi-Fi, playing with Mila, doing down H plus K in a 1-bar connection. And he was purposefully going around and tormenting people with his connection. And he would talk shit. He would overkill you. He would beat your body and taunt you. And listen, it's a video game. I get it. But while I'm a competitive player and a big portion of my life is going into this game, I'm not going to sit here and just deal with this shit. Like, the dude was online talking crazy, not just to me, but to a lot of people. And I told the dude, I'm like, yo, if I place you in a tournament, you better win, because I'm gonna style on you. I don't think he remembers that little chat we had in the DOA5 chat room, but I remember it. All the homies were in there, and I'm like, okay. So I waited for us to cross paths in the tournament. We never played in the tournament. I guess he thought shit might have been sweet or something. We sat down. I knew I was gonna beat him. Like, I knew I was gonna beat him. It wasn't a matter of if or maybe. I knew, like, bro, I was good enough at DOA to know that in an offline setting, I know who was gonna beat me and who wasn't. Ichiran 47 was not gonna beat me in the tournament. So. He got beat, of course, like I said he would. It's actually funny because the dude commentating, his name was Fire Necromancer. He was another Mila player as well, who also really didn't like Ichiran that much, but for some reason at the tournament he was kind of acting like shit was cool. Because after I backflipped on him, the commentary, they were like, oh, that was kind of mean. I'm like, mean? I'm like, what is this? Fucking cat in the hat? Like, what is going on here right now? Like, we're beating the brakes off of each other in a violent fighting game. You talking about being mean? Get the fuck out of here. So I beat the dude, got up and backflipped on him. Didn't just backflip on him because it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had no intentions on doing this backflip. When I tell you, bro, when I tell you that after I beat him, I was so hyped, I didn't know what else to do.
You just was like, I'm about to do the first thing that comes.
Bro, I just did the first thing that came to my mind. I busted his ass and I got, as the Hayate low throw punish was still completing on screen and Ichiran was thinking he was still alive, I was already in mid backflip. Like, I was already in position to flip when Ichiran was still looking at the screen thinking he was alive until he hit that box. Because Hayate's down grab wall splats. I don't think it wall splatted, but the thing about Hayate's down grab is cheap is that it does a little bit of damage when he knees you in the chest, but once your head hits the ground, the extra chunk comes and you die. So I guess bro thought he was alive until his head hit the ground. And he had no choice but to respect it. Like, I've always believed in just giving people no choice but just to respect something. You can say whatever you want about me, the way I do stuff, the way I am on stream, the way I am. And listen, I have grown a lot. I've come a long way. And that's just because I'm older now. But if you ask anybody in the DOA community, they'll tell you how I used to be. I was very competitive. I was very, very serious about the game. That's why I learned everything I knew about the game. I got good enough at the game and knowledgeable enough at the game to the point where I got handpicked by Master to commentate. You think he's just going to pick somebody? He's not going to pick somebody. You got to know what the fuck you're doing and what you're talking about. And I've always just believed in the philosophy of just be so good that they can't deny you. Ichiran has no choice for the rest of his career but to respect me. He lost in an official offline tournament setting with no lag, and he got backflipped and breakdanced on in front of everybody. And to this day, I believe that might be one of the most viral Dead or Alive moments that ever occurred in the tournament. And I'm happy that I could be the guy that really helped, get DOA to another level as far as like my goal was always just to be like a well-known content creator as far as fighting games go. But I never imagined that I would have stepped outside of DOA and became something any bigger than that. Like, I'm really and this is not even like me like tooting my own horn because it's never been like that. But again, I'm a realist and I just know when you're good enough that they can't deny you. Like, I expanded from the DOA brand and I started to brand myself into just fighting games in general. And now I have connections with all kind of different people in the FGC, bro. Like, from every single gaming community, I'm known by people. And it was cool to be able to expand outside of that and to be able to get any kind of notoriety that is not associated with DOA. Even though at heart and even though in my mind and heart, again, I'm always going to be a DOA player. Like, if they come out with a new DOA game next year, I'll probably stop playing every game I'm playing right now and just put all my focus and resources into DOA because I love the game. I'm always going to love the game. It's a part of me. It's a part of my life. And it kind of has crafted me into being the type of person I am now today. Like, I'm telling you, bro, like, I really owe DOA a lot because if it wasn't for Dead or Alive, I wouldn't even be here, bro. I mean that in the most literal fucking sense. I wouldn't even be here still. There was a time where Dead or Alive was the only thing I had, bro. You know what I mean? There was a time where life was ass and, you know what I'm saying, like, being poor and going through poverty growing up and shit, never having nothing but always having that game to play, even if it was the only game we had, bro. You know what I mean? DOA has always been a part of my life, and I think that's why at 29 years old, I'm still a part of this game and it's still a part of my life, you know what I mean? Because to be like, listen, bro, when you see people like Master and Hoodless and these guys still playing the game and still repping for the game and stuff, bro, that is a blessing because people could have moved on in life like a lot of other people did. A lot of people went off and had families, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that there's love for this game still, even if it's only by 10 or 11 people. And I'm watching Master play the game today. I'm like, man, I used to watch this guy 20 fucking years ago. Fast forward 10 years, I was in a Uber with this guy, both working for Team Ninja, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously in different contexts, different capacities. We're working in different capacities, but to be able to sit next to this person when I used to sit on my fucking floor in the living room with my brothers looking up at the screen like I'll bust all these dudes' ass, knowing I was trash at the game. I didn't even know I was horrible. I would have never touched them dudes, but it was a dream come true for me, man. And I really owe it all to this game and this series. So,
that's inspiring, man. It's stuff like this, bro, that really makes me like want to get into DOA even more. Like I'm already like knee deep into it, but it always makes me want to like get into it like the roots. You feel me?
Well, listen, I got one more left in me. You know what I mean? More? If they come out with another DOA game, I think I have one more left in me in terms of like giving it my all, like competitive wise. You know, commentating, creating content, tutorials, guides, streams, whatever. I got one more left in me. I got another DOA5 left in me. You know what I mean? I don't have another DOA6 left in me. If they do some more bullshit and put out another DOA6, that's going to be it for me. You know what I mean? But I am getting older, and I have other dreams and aspirations and goals in my life that exceed gaming at this point. Like, again, I'm involved in so many different things now, bro, that are not just gaming. Like, I have a whole brand that is like a social media influencer type of thing that I have going on. So, but even to this day, I'm still devoting whatever little bit of extra time that I have to DOA. I put up a new video today, and I put up my shorts, and I still stream, and I show up to streams and stuff like that. And I got one more left in me, man. So we'll see what the future holds. And hopefully, it sucks, man, because sitting here telling you this stuff, bro, you don't know the half. Like, one day you need to go on my YouTube and watch my DOA movies that I made. Like all the tournaments that I've been to, not all of them, but some of the major ones. I made actual vlogs, like movie-style documentaries for those events, like NEC, Summer Jam, CEO. When I was traveling with Team Ninja, like there's some good stuff up there. You get to see a lot of the people that it sucks because unfortunately we'll never see some of the people again. We'll never see them playing DOA again, and it makes me just happy that at least I'm still here to the point where I can pave the way for any newcomers coming up. If there's a new DOA game that comes up, I can be that kind of old head in the DOA community that's still around that people look up to, and you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of the way I see Master. Like, I see Master like the godfather of DOA because he's the only dude that's still around, bro. Like, he's the only dude from that time period, and I'm talking Master's time period before a lot of people's, bro. Talking to you, it's like, it sucks like people like you that are, because you know you're doing your thing right now, man. Like, you're doing a lot of the stuff that I used to do, and I hope you continue to do that, man, because there's not a lot of people out there that will put on for this game, and it's an amazing game, it's an amazing series, and I do what I can here and there, but eventually you got to pass the torch to somebody. You know, I hope that you get a chance to experience what a good DOA game looks like. You know, hopefully, like, there's a lot of guys, man, that we'll never probably see again, like Sweet Revenge, and, you know, you got guys like Hawkball, like legendary DOA players that I got to experience, you know, playing against in tournament and sitting down, you know, rest in peace to Ninja CW. He used to play on TV, and I got a chance to sit next to this man and play him before he passed away. Rest in peace to Ninja CW. You know, things will never be the same, and it's a story that I like to talk about to this day. And hopefully one day this game can come back and it can be in some kind of its form of glory, because it deserves better. It definitely deserves better. I hate looking at Tekken and seeing me and all these guys in their 40s still competing and streaming and making content. It's like, I wish that we could have that for our game, because there's just as much fucking love for this game, dude.
That brings me to my last thing that I have to ask, man. If I know it looks bleak. I know it looks bleak considering, you know, the circumstances that DOA is in at the moment, but if all the stars align and we do manage to get a new one, from a business perspective and from a consumer's perspective, what do you think would be the better choice? Would you think it would be better to make a DOA 7 or a hard reboot of the entire series, just making like straight up Dead or Alive?
So Dead or Alive needs a reboot. DOA 6 did a lot of damage to the integrity and to the image of Dead or Alive, and it's a very sensitive subject, because especially if you remember the whole Zachariah debacle and all that stuff that went down. You have to keep DOA, and this is something that I even admit as myself. Like, even though I don't play DOA for the titties and stuff, you have to keep them there. Right. You can't change the identity of the game. You know what I'm saying? You have to, the identity of the game has to stay the identity of the game, or else it's not the game. When you play DOA 6, it's hard not to feel like it's just a kind of like this lifeless version of Dead or Alive. And people that started with 6, they won't understand what I'm talking about. They need to revamp the game. They need to reboot it and start off fresh, I'd say. If they didn't, DOA 7 could work, but the problem that they're going to have is just DOA 6 was such a half-baked excuse for a video game, bro. Not even just a DOA or a fighting game, but for a video game. Like, how are you going to have slots where you can clearly see DLC characters should have went, and there's just never going to be any there? Like, they're just never going to put anyone there. The game is done. They officially just don't support the game anymore, and it's been years. It's shitty. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the best bet would be to just reboot Dead or Alive and get people interested in, come back and do everything correctly this time with the sex appeal and the mechanics and the system. They're going to have to, regardless, bro, reboot or next in the series, they're going to have to do something. In my opinion, the story needs to be tweaked. The story is horrible. I don't know why Hayate's in helicopters when he can teleport anywhere he wants in the world instantly. Certain stuff that doesn't make any logical sense. I hate how they made the story about all the I don't know. You know where I'm going with this. They need to do something. This is a big if, bro. This is like maybe, I'm talking 3%, because at this point, as a person, listen, we've been here before. When I was coming up and DOA 4 was the last one we got, and I wanted nothing in the world but to be able to, like, knowing that Master and all those guys, Perfect Legend, got to experience this game at its highest, and it's over now, it sucks. I'm like, man, just give us a DOA 5 so I can be out there with those guys, and it happened, bro. And fucking, I'll never forget, dude, 2011, that DOA 5 announcement trailer came out, and I was like, no fucking way. What I like to do is I like to look at the time period in which stuff passes. DOA 4 to 5, DOA 4 dropped in the end of 2005, but let's just say 2006. So from 2006 to 2011, we didn't hear a word. We just got DOA 6 in 2019. So realistically, on a time, and look at DOA 5 to 6, right? DOA 5 last round came out in 2015. DOA 6 was announced in 2019 or 2018. That was only a couple years later, bro. You know what I'm saying? So if there is going to be a new DOA game, I would expect it within the next 2 to 3 years. Because at the same time, too, they can't wait forever. You know what I mean? Timing is everything. Do they really want to put out a new DOA game while Tekken is running shit like it is right now? Possibly not. But we'll see. It'd be lovely, man. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, all we can do is hope and keep our fingers crossed and do what we can to support what we got at the moment, man.
Yes, sir.
I salute you for everything that you do and everything that you have done for the community and everything that you continue to do. So I appreciate you for taking the time. I know I said I was only gonna borrow 20 minutes at the end of
Nah, bro, you're good, man. I've been busy, man. It's just my life is so, I have a daughter, you know what I'm saying? It's so busy, so I just be trying to get everything done as much as I can.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, man, no problem, bro. I'm happy I could help out and, you know, give you any kind of information I could.
Awesome, bro. Cartel, my peoples, my babies, my dogs. That will conclude today's episode of Dead or Alive Primetime. If you guys enjoy this type of stuff, man, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment, share with your friends, all that good stuff, man. And as always, subscribe for some more from the Golden Ghost Cartel and for some more Dead or Alive Primetime. I will see you guys in the next one.